tapping. Tap into your purpose. Tapping.
Okay.
Check it. They act as if we see, no hear, no speak, no evil. They act as if we see, no hear, no speak, no evil. We tapping into purpose. Raw purpose. Raw purpose. We tapping into purpose. Raw purpose. Raw purpose.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy Zay.
It's your boy Rashad.
And this is the Raw on Purpose podcast.
The People's Podcast, the podcast where we tap into our raw, authentic self as we tap into that divine purpose, that great purpose that we all have and called to through our topics, through the subjects that we bring up to help you and to really open up the floor for us to really stay in divine order, the order of being who we are authentically while we tap into that amazing purpose that we have. So we got a good one today.
Absolutely. And before we do that, we would definitely appreciate if you would like, follow, share, comment. We're on Facebook, Raw on Purpose, Instagram, Raw on Purpose _ and on YouTube, Raw on Purpose Podcast. We appreciate the time that you spend with us. Like I said, we have a good one today. Today is going to kind of almost be like a confessional for me. This is like, this podcast is, I'm inviting you in to a part of the process of where I am. And I don't know, are you in kind of the same space?
Oh, yeah.
So kind of inviting you guys in on us and a part of helping us be accountable as well as we push towards becoming the best version of us.
Yes, next version, that 2.0.
2.0, right?
Right.
The update.
Yes.
The bringing in just the new, walking in purpose, right? Like really walking into
tapping in.
Right, right. There we
go.
Tap in.
Yeah, check it.
Yep. Shout out to my big bro Steve Thomas.
Laid it down
for that for the intro. If y'all don't know, that's my big brother, man. I thank God for him. But yeah, so we're talking about today having that conversation with yourself, that looking that man in the mirror, that woman in the mirror, and telling yourself and developing into the next thing, the next phase of life, the next step that you're going in. Like that's how we do things. Like the culturally, proper way of saying it would be leveling up, right? We're gonna level up,
right? That's what we know.
That's what the culture says. But for life, it's stepping stones. As a believer, we go from faith to faith. It's from this place to that place. It's a journey. It's from destination to destination.
Mm-hmm.
So we're inviting you into part of our process of getting to the destination, because really what God's wanting from us is not, honestly, he doesn't care about the destination. The destination is for us.
Yeah, it's about who you become on the way to the destination.
It's the process.
Yeah.
It's the journey is what he wants from us. So we're going to just dive into that, because I know I'm in a phase in my life where there's something next that I need to get to.
Right.
Something next, whether it's strongly walking in purpose, becoming the better version of myself, increasing my cash flow, preparing an inheritance for my children or my child, upgrading different phases. Like, I just feel like there's this push that I'm supposed to be in a greater or in a different place that I am in right now, but I'm finding hesitation.
Mm-hmm.
If I could be completely honest, just feeling hesitation. Like, it's like you driving up and then just stopping on your brakes, like, right? Coming to a halt. So there's a point where you got to have a conversation with yourself. You got to look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, what you're desiring is going to take more of you. And you have to push past being uncomfortable to get to that space.
Right, and why is that? Because we cannot solve the same problems with the same mindset, right? So we have to upgrade the system to have a different performance.
Wow.
We got to sit and take that download,
Okay.
from the manufacturer. You want to go there?
Okay,
Let's do
go.
it. So we got to sit
go.
long enough, on base.
Yep.
That's right, to get that download,
Yep.
right? Just like your phone, when it needs that upgrade, you can't get that upgrade unless you actually get off the program that you've been doing and using and hook it up to the Wi-Fi, okay, and allow that update to be downloaded into your system. Then it must be installed into your system so they can begin in operation on the next level. Now, of course, how do we know when it's time to level up the performance? We start lagging. We start. We're not fulfilling our purpose as we should.
Yeah.
Right. So we see these little indications like we're not bearing as much fruit as we should be. So that means the power in that purpose part, like, so the intention of the purpose that we're supposed to be operating in a fruitful, in an abundant level may not be happening. So that could be a sign that we need to slow down for a second, sit in God's presence, hook up, connect, get that download, and begin to allow that system and that new software begin to work within you so that you can start working better on the outside in life as we should. So it's the upgrade part. That's something that we should really tap into daily. So of course I'm all about tapping in. Like, you have to check in with yourself daily. You have to look yourself in the mirror, and you have to be real with whoever that is that's in the mirror. And that's the biggest part, being real with yourself, being real and 100 and raw and about yourself. Why? Because everybody, whether they know it or not, is lying to you. Even if it's not intentional. People just, tell you certain things and make you feel good. To say you're doing good according to their standards that they may see upon you. But because you're not comfortable, but because you can't sit still and just do anything like other people are doing, that higher calling, that higher part of yourself is calling for you to come up and to do something differently.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we could stop right there. And you guys, it's your boy Zay.
And it should not.
No, that's good. That's good. Like, as you said that. And then here's the thing about whenever you do the update, not only does it have to be connected to Wi-Fi, they also always suggest that you connect it to the charger so that it
power
doesn't
source
die
before
the update takes place. And then once it installs everything, then it has to reboot itself.
Whole refresh.
So and it seems like it takes a lot for that.
Right.
But it's necessary.
And we get impatient too with that.
Yep. Because you can't make no calls, you can't get no text, you can't do anything. That's why I typically do it at nighttime.
Exactly.
But it reboots itself, and so you have to get to that place of reboot. You have to sit still for it.
You have to.
And as you said, that reminds me of Jesus, how every day he would spend time with the Father. He'd spend more time with the Father than he did doing miracles and being with the disciples. And we don't talk about that enough. Like, the reason why he was able to do the miracles that he was able to do was because he spent so much time getting the downloads from his Father. Because he was always about doing his Father's business. Yep. And he just understood that connection was important.
And vital. He would always, because you always look for Jesus. Where is he?
Yeah.
He knows what he has to go do. He knows where he has to go recharge that energy. He has to go reconnect. He has to, not to say he never disconnected, but he has to keep harnessing that in this human fleshly body.
Yeah.
As he was showing that example, that those things have to be integrated and consistently kept up in order for that power and these miracles to truly, come forth and be, performed through that vessel.
Yeah. And another part of the like having the conversation with yourself in the mirror and about this updating and spending that time with him, you have to forgive yourself for the past opportunities you may have missed. You have to forgive yourself on the decisions that you made, whether good or bad. You have to spend time, and if you haven't listened to, go jump in and dive into one of our previous episodes on forgiveness.
Big.
One of the key is you have to forgive yourself, because through the forgiving of yourself, you let go of the things that hold you down.
Mm-hmm.
You let go of stuff that separates you from the Father,
right.
separates you from that connection point,
mm-hmm.
right? You could almost say that forgiveness is the password to the Wi-Fi.
That's a good one right there.
Without the Wi-Fi, you can't update. You can't. There's no update.
Right.
It can't happen if you don't have Wi-Fi or your cell service.
Mm-hmm.
If your cell service is disconnected, if you're disconnected from the Wi-Fi, it can't happen. And forgiveness is a big key of locking up whatever it is that you're wanting to upgrade to, level up to,
mm-hmm.
To walk into the greatest version of you. So you have to let go of the stuff that even you may have done to yourself and what other people have done to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a huge part that helps, so that now you have that free flowing connection between you and the Father, so that you can have that understanding of what it is that I need to do next, and you can go into the next part. And then that allows you to move into being okay, being uncomfortable.
Comfortable, yes.
Yep, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. If you think about a seed, right? It even tie into you have to be okay, because a part of this growing part, you have to be okay being in the dark. Because
Definitely.
In the darkness is where everything develops, right? If you think about a film for
this generation know about that. No. Yeah, explain that. Someone don't know about it.
So back in the day,
yeah.
before we had all this digital stuff, back in the day, you would have to go and develop film, and it would have to be done in a dark room because the light would expose it.
Yeah.
In other words, the light would destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes place in the dark.
Yeah.
Right. So a seed grows in the dark.
Right.
Seed doesn't grow in the light.
Nope.
So,
whereas a child spends the first 36 weeks of life, because life does begin. Yeah.
And so the darkness is important.
Yep.
The darkness helps. It helps anchor, because in the darkness is where the seed is taking root, and if the root doesn't take, if the root of the tree does not get deep enough, that when the wind blows, when it grows, it'll fall over. And now once it fall over, there's no use for it.
Mm-hmm.
It then begins to stop bearing fruit. So in those dark spaces, in those dark places, is where development happened. Again, from film, from a child, right? Those things are important for us, right? So and it goes into Romans 8:28, all things work together for the good of those that love him and called according to his purpose.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That in those dark spaces, in those dark places, is where you begin to develop. It's where you begin to grow. It's where you begin to learn about yourself. It's where you get to it's in that stillness, right? Even our phones, when they're updating, they black out.
Yep.
So there's a moment where it's totally dark, and then it begins to reboot. You'll see the light. So the darkness.
It's like the portal to the next level.
Absolutely.
Even people who go to the next life, they usually go through like some form of a darkness or a period. Then there's light. Yeah.
So in a tree, it may be uncomfortable being in the dark. Sometimes you just have to. Everything that we see, these athletes, these great performers, anybody that does anything great in life, what they do in the dark gets exposed in those big bright lights.
Yeah.
So if you are an incredible athlete, what you do in the dark from a practice standpoint, from a honing in your craft, working on your craft, practicing, getting throws and shots up,
Right.
Watching film, taking care of your body, all those things that you do when people aren't looking.
That character stuff.
Right? All the character stuff gets exposed when it's magnified in the light.
Yep.
If you're not putting the work in, it'll be exposed in the light.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not doing those things in the darkness, you can't expect greater results in the light.
Exactly.
So we have to, and as I'm talking, I'm talking to myself.
Right.
It's like in this time of 2020 put a lot of people in the dark. And we're going to see who is first and foremost angered. Secondly, who had the perseverance to push through the ground,
mm-hmm.
to push through the womb.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, again, going back to childbirth, one of the things the mother has to push. Like, the whole birthing process is violent.
Exactly.
Because
turbulent.
If
yes.
her breathing isn't correctly, it harms the baby. If the baby isn't turned the right way, it can harm the baby.
Mm-hmm.
So many things.
So
if the
risky.
doctor doesn't know what they're doing or make a mistake, can destroy the child's life for the can hurt them for the rest of their life.
Yep.
So many things that take place, even when something's coming through the ground. Right? If it gets too much sunlight, it'll burn. If it gets somebody runs over with a lawnmower, it gets chopped up.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but there's a discomfort in pushing through.
Yeah.
Right? Because then when it comes to the light and it begins to grow, now it begins to bear fruit.
Yeah.
So and that's where it takes the most energy, is for it breaking through the ground. Because it has to unearth what's above it.
Yeah, that's the most energy. Just like I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, I have to look this up. I think it's the bamboo. That root system itself might take a whole year or two for it to just get to that first part. But once it reaches there, it's like literally within weeks that it shoots up into a whole like big tree. So and that's kind of like our lives. Like, not some of us, our darker periods and pushing through is a little shorter. Some of us, our period of that is a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Because our destiny is different, our purpose is different, where we're supposed to be at is different. We may have more of a purpose that requires us to have a little more longevity. So our rooting system and our period of darkness are developing under that pressure, because of the Bishop Dale Bronner said this: the weight of your assignment is determined by the weight. The weight, AWAIT, and the WEIGHT. You feel me? So it's like when you know how much is on you, just know that your purpose is that much greater, by the compounding of it. So it's like that gives you like some hope when you go through these periods, when you know that it's just the beginning, that it's just a period that we just inevitably have to go through. To get to that growth. Yeah. So that's just really important, to never give up, to never like settle in, the darker period of, feeling however you feel, or feeling inadequate, feel like you can't go to the next level, or the struggles, the lessons, the L's that we take, that we go to in our maturation process. And even after the whole getting past that part, the process of the pruning part, because that's even necessary in our continuation of it as well. So there's always going to be those parts where it's uncomfortable and turbulent and violent, to hit that next level, like we talked about prior to us starting this. Like whenever they wanted to break the sound barrier, they always came up with resistance.
But first, let's talk about
how they got
you
there.
Can even break the sound barrier. It takes more fuel and energy for a plane to get off the ground.
Starting there, yeah.
Right? So it takes so much more energy that you have to accept the fact that it takes a lot of energy to get past, to push through, right? Because you can't break the sound barrier if you have no momentum.
You got to have some momentum. You got to come from that.
Yep. So it takes, so the plane takes off, and you can hear it if you're on a plane. If you've ever been on a plane, you hear it's like,
right.
Right. It's struggling. Like you can feel it. You can feel the turbulence. You can
feel that weight, that torque.
Yep.
Yeah.
Feel the resistance of the wind, right? It's the turbulence, right? They have to push through all of that so it gets to that place of, so it can get to its peak and rest.
Yeah.
And now they can kick it on autopilot and it can just guide itself to whatever the destination. But jump on in with the so it takes momentum to go into the
to get to that level.
Yeah.
Right? And in all this you have to honor the law. Keep that in mind too. You got to respect the laws in order to get to the next level. But and these natural laws, that is. So that everybody they want to attempt to break the sound barrier. Of course, there were many attempts before they did because of the level of resistance that was there. Once they met it or got close to breaking it, they'd be like, they're holding on to the the controllers and everything. The whole cockpit and the whole plane itself is shaking like crazy. And some people, they get there and they just like, all right, I got to pull back, and they descend, But, of course, when they did, somebody did a push. They did a perseverance. They stuck in it long enough. They know that it was violently shaking, right? And it kept shaking and shaking like crazy. Like, we might lose everything.
Yeah.
We might lose everything.
That's good.
So we might lose everything, but they kept going, and then all of a sudden it went from this to
peace.
All of a sudden.
Yeah.
Peace. At that moment, it's like you forget. Just like when a child gets birth, you forget.
Yep.
All of that pain, all that stuff once it arrives. And that's what it is, and it's the fear. That's the barrier too. It's the fear of the next level. Through that turbulation, through that resistance, do I have the courage, which is doing it afraid, to push and persevere on to the next level? Like, this is all that I got. I'm going to just go all the way. It hurts. It's against me. Yeah, I'm going to press forward and see.
And real quick, shout out to all the mamas that push through.
Real talk.
Right. Like, shout out.
I ain't going to try to act like
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to y'all. Like, big up.
Y'all the real MVPs out here bringing real life into this world. Like, yeah.
But, like, that's what it's about, is pushing. Like, you got to have the conversation with yourself. Like, I got to keep pushing.
Yep.
I got to push through, because one thing that my mentor always says to me, Dr. Shanti Hill, he would always say that two things happen when you're trying to go there. God wants to see how bad you want it.
Yeah.
And the devil is there to try to keep you from having it. So that's like, even that darkness part is, whenever you are deciding, I'm going to make a change, so much hell comes at you, so much distraction, so much pain, like so many different things come at you in that space, because God's trying to see, do you really want this? And the enemy is trying to do everything he can to take it from you.
To make sure you don't.
You don't get to that. Because God wants you to have it, because especially if he placed it in you, that means he wants you to have it.
Right. It's yours.
Right?
Already.
And listen to what I'm saying. If he wants you to have it, not I want to have it.
Big difference.
If he wants you to have it. Because if it's what he wants you to have, It will not be a curse. It will not destroy you. We talked about this a few weeks ago. If it's something you want, you have to work hard for it. You have to sweat for it. You have to, and then oftentimes it's not enough when you get it.
Mm-hmm.
But when he gives it to you, there comes peace. You're breaking that sound barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think of it as if you're inside of a big rubber ball, a big balloon. And in order for you to get to your freedom, to get to whatever's on the other side of that balloon, you have to continue to run through. You have to keep pushing through until you break through. Because that's all a child does is the water breaks and it's time. Like, the baby's ready.
Yeah.
Like that, the placenta has to burst for life to come.
Yeah.
So we have to run through our type of placenta. We have to push through that bubble. We have to talk to ourselves. We have to accept the fact that it's going to be hard. We have to accept the fact that it's going to take time. We have to accept the fact that it's going to be uncomfortable. And then here's the other conversation or other thing you have to think about when you're having this conversation with yourself. You can't look to the left and you can't look to the right. You can't look at what people are doing beside you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be focused on what's in front of you, which is yourself. Because we're not competing with anybody else but ourselves.
That's it.
You're not competing with anybody else but you. We're only competing to become the best version of ourselves.
Yep.
And when we get that understanding that we're not trying to keep up with anybody else, we're just trying to get everything that God has for us, it opens the door to so many great things. That's when you become great in your area and in your life. And here's the thing. You place the value on what's great in your life, not other people.
Exactly.
You place the value on what's great. If you work at whatever place you work at, and that can be your level of greatness, because when people come in, they know that they're going to get a smile from you. And you don't know what that smile will do for somebody.
For real.
And here's the other part when you look yourself in the mirror. It's not about you. You becoming great is not about you. It's about those that are around you.
Yep.
It's for the seeds that you've planted. It's for the legacy that you're leaving behind. Whether it's your children, whether it's even your parents, whether it's the people in your community. That's why you have to become the greatest version of you.
Right.
It has nothing to do with you. Again, our whole thing is being authentically you in your purpose, the raw on purpose, because your purpose is not for you. Your purpose is for the greater good of this world in which you live in.
And that person, that conversation, that person that you see in the mirror, it's all about getting that person out of the way of you being the best servant and being given everything that, or exhausting everything out of you, all the power and potential within you that God has given you to serve and help others. So, because that's usually what it is. It's we can blame it on the enemy, the devil, but it's us that gets in the way. So, and we forget that when we don't take inventory, when we don't look and recognize the true enemy in me every day.
What's funny is you took that. I had that thought in my head. You
See,
took it because my pastor says that it's the enemy in me.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah,
See,
we've been
be
hanging
on point.
out.
Yeah, we've been
hanging out too much.
Yeah, we're more in sync than Justin Timberlake and the other guy. But so it's really that. It's really that real. But you know what I'm saying? It is if anybody, it is you, and that's when you have the potential to overcome and go to the next level, when you realize that the biggest enemy, the biggest foe is you in the way of your destiny and the fulfillment and everything that God has for you, for getting that. So every day we have to be real with that person. If we're you know, if we're getting in our way and we're being, I would say, like, nice to ourselves or lenient to ourselves, but we're not disciplining ourselves in acknowledging things about ourselves that is affecting us, that's when we suffer. That's when we definitely don't walk in the best space that we really don't want to be in when it comes to really fulfilling that purpose and living a life that we truly want to. So we really gotta just recognize the enemy first, the enemy within us, and knowing that that enemy within us is just the one that's in agreement that the enemy that we try to accuse of stopping us. So it's that enemy in with us that we try to go to from the ego, that is being utilized and almost used like a puppet master when we tap into that and we don't take responsibility and rise up into our God self and do the work that we need to do to walk in our purpose and our divinity and all that type of stuff on this earth. So it's requiring more truth of us in order for us to really tap in and go to the next level. If we're lying to ourselves, we're definitely we're not getting anywhere.
Yeah, and as you were talking, it brought up a scripture, Philippians 3, 12 through 14, and I'm going to read it from the Message translation. It says, I am not saying that I have this all together, that I have made it, but I am well on my way, reaching out for Christ, who is so wondrously reached out for me. Friends, don't get me wrong. By no means do I count myself an expert in all of this, but I've got my eye on the goal where God is beckoning us onward to Jesus. I'm often running and I'm not turning back. Right? Another
sounds real focused and decided.
Right. You got to look at yourself. Right? Like he even says, I don't even, again, I was saying even for ourselves with this, like I even can see what Paul's saying in this moment of is I don't mean to say that I have already achieved these things or that I've already reached perfection, but I press on to possess that perfection. And when he says perfection, he's talking about maturity, right?
Yeah.
For which Christ first possessed me. No, dear brother and sister, I have not achieved it, but I focus on one thing. This is the part I was really wanting to get to, is forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead. So in the midst of having this conversation with yourself, you have to forget what happened.
Right.
Because it already happened.
Yeah.
You have to press, right? You're focused on what's the next goal. I'm focused on the next thing. I'm focusing on the next level. I'm focusing on busting through this ground, right? Breaking the sound barrier, pushing through the turbulence, right? That's what we got to focus on, because that's what's before us.
Yeah.
Is all these different things that are coming to slow us down. We have to forget, okay, you messed up, you made a mistake, it's okay. Forgive yourself, let it go, allow it to develop you and grow you so you can push, right? That's it's pushing. This is why you have the conversation with yourself in the mirror, is so you can push past where you are.
That's it.
Because where you're going is greatness, but you can't get there if you stay where you are.
Right, because that's your comfort zone. That is the state that you cannot, that version of you cannot be in that sphere, in that level. So there's a desire which comes from the Father, and that's what desire means. It's from the Father. So what is placed in our hearts is discomfort. So when that's placed there, that's that signal that you're being called to a higher degree a maturation, a different level of you, a different dimension, a different version of yourself that is being demanded. Yep. So sometimes we get it both. We get it both on outward and the inward. Absolutely. So those feelings change. We don't feel the same at the job that you're at. You know, you feel like you're not producing. You feel like you're like, what am I doing here? That's put there in your heart for a specific reason, because that place is no longer where you are in your state. Yeah. So you got to go where you are. You got to go where you can definitely find that fulfillment, and then you start to go through that process. And then, of course, the outward part from the external, you know, things start not working out like you want to. You know, pressures from, if you try to level up like yourself, you know, pressures from the wife, pressures from, you know, the child being there and want to do and provide more for her. Yeah. And just the personal stuff and all that together, you know, is that pressure too. Mm-hmm. And thing is, you know, we you know, like a palm tree, we just bend into it, you know. Yep. Like we've talked about before in our past episodes, and we just go with the process of it. It's not going to break us. We're very malleable. But we just like really go and persevere through that process and allow ourselves to the opportunity to see and experience what's on the other side of that next level through with that conviction. Mm-hmm. To push through, because we see and we feel something that won't let us, no matter how tired, how beat up we getting, that won't let us stop and give up. Right. Something in us that is relentless and that will not let us sit in that state of comfort that we've been in for however long. Absolutely. You know, so that thing just convicts and does the work in us, you know, so greatly that, you know, like, I don't even know where I'm going, but I know I can't stay here. Yep. You know, as we've heard before. So we just take that initiative and that movement, and we just get right, you know what I'm saying, with God, and we just take account for that other individual, which is the same individual that one in the mirror, and we make it decide. We have to have that conference with ourselves. Yep. Every day, like, absolutely. All right, this is what we doing. Yep. And this is what we not going to be doing today.
What you not going to do.
Yeah. Yep. Because there's no worse feeling than feeling like at the end of the day that your own self, sabotage yourself. Yeah. That you failed yourself. Yep. And not in the failed way to success type of failure, but that you quit. Yep. You didn't give it all. That and living with regret. Yep. None of us like that nor want that. Yeah. And that's why we have to, you know, really like just tap in daily and be like, okay, you know, and speak over ourselves. It's like speaking over ourselves from victory, not for victory. Yep. We got to come from that to that higher place in Christ and speak to that part of us that is lower, that has been holding us back for longer, and bring ourselves up. Bring ourselves up to that level, so that it's not like a fight. So it's not like, you know, like you're trying to drag yourself around right. into the next level and everything, which is, you know, is not comfortable or cool at all. But yeah, that next level requires a whole nother version of us.
Yeah, and you have to be okay being uncomfortable. And it's hard. It's hard to wrap our minds around that, because we just don't like to be uncomfortable. Yeah. And you just have to be aware. And be honest with yourself too. Right? Be honest, like saying, I'm struggling to do this. Mm-hmm. And then another part of even that conversation with yourself in the mirror, you have to ask yourself, who is around you that you may need to replace, mm-hmm. or that you may need to spend more time, mm-hmm. because iron sharpens iron. Mm-hmm. Right? If you're in the same place and you have the same friends, there's a problem. You gotta look yourself in the mirror and say, I deserve better than this. Yeah. I need better. I need to do better than this.
Right.
I'm pressing, right? I'm pushing.
Mm-hmm.
I have a goal. I'm pressing toward the mark of the high calling, which is in Christ Jesus. Right? We're pressing toward those things. And I'll say for those that you may not believe what we believe, the principles don't change. The principles are the same, but I am unapologetically a believer in Jesus. Right? Mm-hmm. I'm unapologetic about it.
Yes.
But I want you to understand that the principles are the same. I would say if the principles are the same, it's just freer with him. But when you're having that conversation, right, and then the other part is like, and it starts with your mind as well. Like he says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So from a scriptural standpoint, it's a spiritual renewing of your mind. Mm-hmm. But if you're pursuing better in your job or better financially, like you have to renew your mind. If you're a person that if you get $100 and then you're in negative 50, you have to renew some stuff in your mind so that you can, instead of you taking 100 and being in a $50 deficit, that you have 100 and you increase it to 200. Right. It's a renewing of your mind.
All of it is.
Of looking at relationships differently. You may be used to using people all the time. Renew your mind to where now relationships are mutually beneficial. Mm-hmm. Right? Renewing of your mind, you're used to manipulating people to get what you want, opposed to now you are more giving and you're more freeing in how you respond and treat people. Right? That's where the renewing of your mind takes place, meaning your mind shifts, it changes. It doesn't do or doesn't think the way that it did before.
Right. It's like, how do we renew our minds?
Well, first it goes back to what we started with. It starts with your connection to the source. Mm-hmm. That power source, that Wi-Fi connection. Mm-hmm. It starts there. And then it starts next with who's around you, who's challenging your thoughts, who's challenging your way of thinking, who's challenging you, who's calling you to be greater. Mm-hmm. Right? And then what are you reading? What do you spend the most time filling your mind with to sharpen it? Right? I think those are a few of the things that helps you renew your mind.
And I think also challenging meaning like challenging every form of the thought process or the software operating system that you've been under for however what time. Yeah. So, because the devil's in the details. So it's like we have to kind of like test everything out and kind of unturn all the stones. Yeah. And so that we're clear on everything that's in our sphere, in our environment, in our thought bank, in our spirit body, all that, to know, like, because this is what the operating system has been running on the system the whole time anyway. So we got to find out, okay, what parts of the system that I'm on is wrong. Yeah. That we need to take account for and reverse, fix, bring up, all that type of stuff, so that we can actually know, like, okay, all right, that's not working. That's one, boom, boom, boom. This is that. I'm going to allow that to go through the refreshing process.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's sticking on that. Oftentimes when you look at for like a software update on your phone, it says, we fixed the bugs that we found. Mm-hmm. So the problems that they had, they fixed it. And in order for your phone to operate at the highest capacity is if you update this version of it.
Yep.
So it takes away what was lacking before and brings increase to where you're at now. I had another thought, but it slipped my mind.
It'll roll back around.
Yeah. So it helps you. It helps you in the process of growing and understanding that those things has to be corrected. Like your blind spots have to be seen,
right,
and brought to light so that you can be aware of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, in understanding, like, the reason why you're having this conversation with yourself again is for the generations, for what you're going to leave behind, for the people that come behind you.
Because I think those messages that come within, that come from the external, like that we recognize and we become aware of, are definitely from the spirit, from our ancestors, because this isn't just us. Like you said, this is generations that
Absolutely.
we're talking to. Sometimes, that is speaking, within our DNA, like that calling, that has been maybe skipping, or somebody didn't pick it up, along the way, and they just let it go. They didn't, deal with the person in the mirror. They didn't have those conversations. They didn't, download the software and take advantage of it. So it's like you may be that one, that gets uncomfortable enough, that gets frustrated enough to be like, okay, I need to make a change. I need to really be real about myself right now and just let it go and tap into my next level by trusting the process of what I got to do to get the different result and go to the next level, so that I can be better, more of a greater contribution to society, my legacy, and everything,
Yeah, and the thought came back to mind. What you mentioned, like something my pastor has been teaching. Sometimes you have to learn, and then you have to unlearn. So first you have to learn what you need to unlearn, and then you need to find what you need to relearn.
Yep.
I think I said it right.
Yeah.
But if you understand it, like,
definitely that unlearning.
You gotta check. Okay, what is it? You have to see. All right, this is what I learned.
Yeah.
And realize I have to unlearn that, and then relearn something else.
Yep.
That's a part of the process. Even piggybacking on the generational thing, and this whole idea of updates. Sometimes if you don't update, a virus can take over. And the update helps stop the virus. So from a generational, you are the update that kills the virus that pursued through the family, the curses that has been handed down from generation to generation to generation.
Exactly.
Right? Like for my dad and my mother made the decision that divorce was going to stop at them. That divorce wouldn't be a part. So that's the legacy for my generation to carry on. Okay, divorce is not something that we're going to do. That will all avenues.
Right. Is there other way, but that
sure it works.
Right.
There's so many just different, even for myself, one of the curses that I decided to break was my family has a especially the males in my family has a promiscuous kind of connotation with them, right? My dad would be like, yeah, I'm a Jones, right? So from that's just what they do. They had women. And for myself, I didn't go that route. And I saved myself for marriage. So that now I can pass that on to my daughter, and if I'm blessed with a son, right? That it's possible to save yourself because that breeds so much discipline in different things. But to be able to, because I didn't do it for myself. There's many a times where I wanted to fall and slip, but it was like, nah, this is for my next generation. this isn't about me. It's sacrificing 90 seconds of feeling, 5 seconds, right?
Right.
For a long-term goals. I know a lot of people think that's crazy, but it's honestly probably the most fruitful thing that you can do. It's the most fulfilling thing to do is save yourself. I've yet to hear anybody that released it, that lost it, be like, man, if I go back, I'd do it again. Most people are like, nah, I would have waited.
Yep.
And that's we've talked about it previously, and it's something we'll dive into again.
Right.
But as we wrap this up, have that conversation with yourself. Have that look in the mirror, stay in the mirror. Don't beat yourself up, but encourage yourself to press through, to break that sound barrier. Because when you break through, that's where the peace comes, right? God cares about the journey, right? The destination is for you, and the destination only lasts for a moment, because then you're on the next journey to whatever's next. So it's about the journey. It's from faith to faith. It's the journey in between of how your faith increases from one place to another. It's all about growing you, becoming the best you that you could be. It's about living in fulfilling your divine purpose, right? So you're creating and developing the raw, authentic you as you pursue your purpose.
That's it. That is exactly it. It's about who we are becoming as we pursue what we pursue. Who are we becoming? So that's the biggest thing. So it's like the desires that create in your heart are there to, because not what you drive is what drives you at the end of the day. So what's driving you is also creating a narrative or a persona or a character of you. So allowing that character to develop and mature is big, because that's what allows you to that gives you a right, if you will, to experience that reality, to experience that version of yourself by being in that specific alignment. So I don't have anything else, but just definitely keep focusing on tapping in and pushing through, going through even if you're going through seasons of darkness and pressure. Pressure, we know that produces diamonds. Value, that pressure. There's fruitfulness. There's a strong purpose in that pressure and that resistance and that suffering that we all experience as we are going to that next level. So, that's all I got for her.
Yep.
Yeah.
And remember this: somebody is waiting on you to become.
Yes.
Somebody is waiting on you to fulfill your purpose.
That's how big it is.
That's how big it is.
That's how great it is. It's like a butterfly effect. No matter how small or insignificant you think you are, like, your next level has a great impact on how things come about in this world or affecting somebody else's life.
So I hope, again, something was said that encouraged you, that hopefully you listened to this and it helped you push further. I know you or I don't know, but you may have wanted to quit, give up, and I hope that this was something that encouraged you not to quit. You may need to readjust some things, you may have to shift some things, but do not give up. Keep pushing, because somebody is waiting on you to become who God created you to become, to fulfill the purpose he created you for.
Yes.
That's what he's waiting for, you to do those things. Those people are waiting for you to become that thing. And we're not just talking to you, we're talking to ourselves, because this is an everyday. I don't care who you are. You never arrive in life.
Never.
The moment you arrive is the day you die. So continue to grow, continue to become the best version of you. And again, if something was said, please comment. Drop a comment below. You can DM us, email us at rawonpurpose@gmail.com. We're on Instagram, rawonpurpose_, YouTube, Raw on Purpose Podcast. Find us, let us know, because you never know what you say could help even give us fuel to go further. Yep. Give us the strength and the desire to continue on pouring into you. So again, this is a mutual thing. As we give, as we give our best to you, more importantly, we give our best to the Father and allow him to allow fruit to grow. Let us know. And if you didn't like it, let us know too. We're welcome to anything you have to say. But we just want to thank you for your time and, tune in for the next episode. Till then, this is your boy Zay.
And it's your boy Rashad.
And this is the Raw on Purpose podcast.
Tapping, tapping. Tap into your purpose. Tapping, tapping.
Okay.
Check it out. They act as if we see, no hear, no speak, no evil. They act as if we see, no hear, no speak, no evil. We tapping into purpose. Raw on purpose. Raw on purpose.